Just wondering, maybe you could talk about how the Rich Dad, which became Rich Woman, and Rich Dad Empire kind of built, because you were there from the beginning. And how did that go from kind of the board game and then the book and then you guys are on Oprah?
And that was amazing. There is an Oprah effect. The board game, we found out we've got like 3,500 cash flow clubs that have popped up all over the world spontaneously. People get together on a regular basis and just play the game. And that fulfills our mission. But the cash flow board game came about because Robert and I were financially free in 1994. I was 37, Robert was 47. And everybody kept asking, how did you do it? How did you do it? And they all assumed we had millions of dollars. And we did not have millions of dollars. We had $10,000 a month coming in every month from our investments, which were primarily real estate. But our living expenses were only $3,000. So that was always our formula, to have your passive income from investments greater than your living expenses. At that point, you're free. So everybody wanted to know how we did it. And we're like, we don't want to be traveling all over the world, because we were doing that in a previous business, teaching this, and we love games. And so we're like, let's make a board game. And we decided this, we were sitting in New York City one day having a cup of coffee, and we're like, let's make a board game. We have no idea how to make a board game. No idea at all.
Were you inspired by other board games? I know Robert used to play Monopoly as a kid. Yeah.
Yes.
But Cash Flow game is it's like a grown-up version of Monopoly.
Yes.
It's like Monopoly with consequences and reality.
Yes, reality.
Right.
Yes. So we started building this game, and we would work morning to night. And we had a friend that came in, and on the board game, you actually have deals. You have real estate deals and business deals, and he actually put all the numbers through a simulation like thousands of times to make sure the numbers were correct. Okay. And we printed 1,000 copies of the board game, and then we're like, we did everything a little bit backwards, Brian. We printed it, and we're like, okay, now we got to sell it. And how are we going to sell it? So Robert's like, I'm going to make a brochure. So he starts working on this brochure, and in the meantime, we're going to launch this game in Singapore at a seminar, because we had, from our previous business, we had a big base of people in Singapore, in Australia, New Zealand. So we're like, let's do a big seminar. Everybody's going to play the cash flow game, and they're all going to get one. That was our first launch. But in the meantime, Robert's writing this brochure, and he keeps writing it, and he keeps writing it. I'm like, where's the brochure? Where's the brochure? And the next thing you know, here's this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm like, it's a big brochure. And that book came out. No publisher wanted it. And we self-published. We had 1,000 copies in our garage. And we had a friend of ours who had one of those big car washes, the super car washes with the convenience store attached. And we said, hey, put our book in your convenience store. Would you put it in there? And he's like, we don't sell books. And we're like, that's why we want it. There's no competition. So he put his books in there. Long story short, we get this call. And this guy calls and he says, hey, my name is Bill. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Good book you got there. I'm like, you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? He goes, yep. He goes, I said, where'd you get it? He said, my friend sent it to me from a car wash in Austin, Texas. I said, yeah, we had 24 books there. He goes, got them all. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, how many more you got? I said, we got 1,000 less 24. He goes, well, I already got the 24. I'll take the rest. And I'm like, who are you? And he says, I'm with a company called Amway. And so it started going through Amway, because we talk about passive income, they talk about residual income. It was very much aligned to their philosophy. Okay. So that's how it started. And then in 2000...
And Amway was massive door-to-door sales company in America.
Yes, massive door-to-door sales.
Right.
They had, and every night they'd do what they call showing their plan and recruiting people into their business. And so every night they would talk, all these people all over the U.S. would talk about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Wow. So it was like a grassroots campaign, getting our book out there. And then in 2000, Oprah Winfrey calls, and Robert goes on Oprah Winfrey. She does an entire show just on Rich Dad, Poor Dad, brings people in who we never met, who because of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it changed their life. And I still remember walking into the set, and Robert and I were sitting in the front row, and there's 2 chairs on stage, and Robert goes, I wonder who that other chair's for. And I'm like, Robert, that's for you. and it hit him, and it hit him. They had a great show. They had a great rapport.
Yeah.
And overnight, her show was syndicated to 150 countries. So overnight, we're in 150 countries. And that was the spark internationally that got us out there. So I have a lot of respect and admiration for Oprah Winfrey.
This is like pre-internet. So basically,
Yes, pre-internet.
Oprah was the internet.
She was the internet, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And it is a great episode. You can still watch it on YouTube.
Yeah,
And,
great.
and there was all these people that had changed their lives. And
Yeah.
Robert was really good at being
Yeah.
articulate. And, that book, I mean, I must say, I listened to it again when I flew out to Phoenix to see you guys in October. And
Thanks.
I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go back in and, man, it's just so powerful. It's just a book about psychology and human beings and our own relationship with fear and our own misunderstanding of being grown up in a world and being told that money is this when realizing it's something else.
Yeah.
It's real fundamental stuff.
Yeah.
I was just impressed
Yeah.
when I read it again at how simple it was.
It is simple. That's the beauty of it. Robert takes the complex and makes it very, very simple. Because if you look at money's kind of a psychotic subject. Everybody's got all these crazy ideas and beliefs, and money's the root of all evil, and only rich people are corrupt, and all these crazy ideas. It's just money. It's just a means of exchange, and people do crazy things for it. So a lot of my favorite line that Rich Dad said. Rich Dad said, "Money may not be the most important thing in the world, but it affects everything that is. It affects your lifestyle, it affects your health care, it affects your level of education, it affects everything on a day-to-day basis. It affects the food you eat. So it may not be the most important thing, but it does affect everything that is important."
Yeah, that's powerful. And another thing that Robert said to me recently, he said the difference between a rich person and a poor person is fear and their relationship with fear. And I think about you with that first investment. That's
Scared
you
to
going
death.
into your fear.
Yeah.
But 99 other people out of 100 would have not done that because of that fear.
It would have been easier not to do that deal. It would have been easier not to buy the deal, because then I wouldn't have to go through this learning curve. Then I wouldn't have to face a fear all the time of what's going to happen and how do I deal with tenants and how do I do this. And it was a lot to learn on one little tiny property. And so I think a lot of people, they don't want to be uncomfortable. They don't want to get out of their comfort zone. And the only way we grow and learn is by stretching ourselves and getting out of our comfort zone, even by a little bit. Emerson said, this is not the exact quote, but something to the effect of, if you're not facing something you fear every day, you don't understand the secret of life. Because that's where growth and transformation happens.
Yeah.
So, and I hate making mistakes just like everybody else. I hate failing, but that's where we learn the most. If we can take the lesson of the failure and take the lesson of the mistake and learn from it, then we get much smarter.
And look at what you and Robert are doing. You're printing board games before they're sold. You're writing brochures that turn into books. I mean, you guys are taking a lot of risks,
At the time, it just seemed like, it didn't seem like risk. It's like, okay, let's try this, let's see if this works. We had a lot of belief in what we were doing. So I guess, when you're, I think we had a different philosophy on business. We're also very, very big into personal development. And so we knew about, facing your fears and just going through the, knocking on the doors, making the phone calls. I remember making a phone call to Harvard University because I had this idea that the women at Harvard would take the game, play it, and the women at Harvard would be able to learn about money and learn about investing, and we were going to go the women's route at Harvard. So I sent this game. I got a contact to a professor there and sent her the games, and never heard from her. And she said, finally I called her and I said, "Did you get the games?" She goes, "Yes." I said, "Did you play them?" She goes, "No." And I said, "Why not?" She goes, "Number one, this is Harvard. We don't teach money at Harvard." And then she said the best line, "And besides, women don't play games." I'm like, what planet are you on? Women are the best game players on the planet. We're playing games every single day. So yes, so we know. I don't think we ever really looked at it as taking risks. We were just doing what needed to be done to to get the game out there.
And she said they don't teach money
They
at Harvard.
don't teach
And
money
if they don't
at
teach money
Harvard.
at Harvard, then what are they doing in the public school system? They're sure as heck not
They're
teaching
not
it.
teaching it there.
And why? They're still not teaching it.
I don't think they want us to know. There's the conspiracy theory of for example, in medical school. So I forget who took over medical school, like Rockefeller or Carnegie or somebody took over the medical schools. And as soon as they came in, they got rid of all the teaching of any natural, chiropractic, Ayurvedic, reflexology, acupuncture, all of that disappeared from medical school, and all they taught was Western medicine. So I think in the school system, they don't want us to learn about money because they just want to pump out good employees that do what they're told. I mean, if you look at school, it's opposite of what it takes to be successful in real life. Don't make a mistake. Do as you're told. Take tests by yourself. Don't cooperate. Do it by yourself. Do it on your own. And the last thing was, there's only one right answer. No, there's tons of answers to a problem. So you come out of school scared to death of making a mistake. You do everything on your own. You don't cooperate. There's no synergy. There's no brainstorming. And there's only one right answer. Everybody wants to get the right answer. There's no one right answer. So I think people come out of school paralyzed. I think the school system is criminal in that it kills a child's spirit of learning. A child goes into school all excited about, I'm going to learn and it's going to be great. And then the teacher says, sit down and shut up. Don't talk. We don't care what you're interested in. Did anybody in school ever ask you, did a teacher ever ask you, Brian, what are you interested in? I never did. I never did. So they just teach you what they want to teach you instead of finding out what the child is interested in and teaching to that. So I think kids come out of school scared to death of making a mistake. They come out paralyzed. They don't know what they want to do because their spirit and their creativity has been crushed inside of them. So you almost have to do a whole reprogramming once you get out of school so you can find out what it is that excites you, what it is that where your passion is. And we just launched a product on finding out what's most meaningful to you. Because once you can discover what's most meaningful, then decisions and life becomes so much easier because there's more joy, there's more better communication with relationships. But they don't teach any of this in school. They just say, sit down, do as you're told, take the test by yourself, and don't make a mistake.